What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a discussion, this time live, for episode 5 of House of the Dragon. And today we once again have Jake, first time live.
Shocking new guest, yes. So we might get some comments because I thought it'd be fun. See comments for every that we can answer to. Give us more to talk about. And this episode was pretty fantastic.
It is, and we will do both spoilers and non-spoiler today. So we'll start with no Fire and Blood spoilers, and then at some point we'll switch. And I have this nice ticker at the bottom, which will, I think this isn't.
Look at this guy. He's going all out.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay. So, question: best episode so far? Yes. Leading question.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. It went pretty hard.
I was actually considering giving this a 10 out of 10. I'm still on the edge on whether or not. I think it's not quite there, but
I brought out the decimals. I'm like, I'll give it a 9.5.
Yeah.
You weren't.
Exactly.
Good episode.
I'm in the same camp. I was like, there were some small things at the end there where I was like, wait, is this going to work or not? And my mother is in chat. Oh, I can. So, say hi to my mother, everybody.
Hello.
So, so how you also thought it was the best, right?
Oh yeah. It's I thought it was comfortably the best. It was basically, it was like the better version of the first bit of episode 3, like all the political maneuvering and character stuff, but with nothing to worry about. Does this make sense at the end? Obviously it didn't have dragons burning things, but it was very, very, very good stuff. We had a wedding in Westeros, so obviously things were going to go badly. But I guess in defense, these people, they didn't know A Song of Ice and Fire would happen, so they can't be blamed for thinking it would go well.
That's a fair point, actually. Yeah, I think in general, the tension throughout the episode, I think they do that really well. Just increasing the tension scene by scene, and then at the wedding at the end, I think it was amazing. Just the way you knew something was going to happen, but you didn't know at what point. When Daemon walks in there, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, and obviously, I think Alicent is probably the highlight of this episode.
Yes,
you gotta where she's gets her father basically exiled because she backed Rhaenyra, and then 10 minutes later, guys she had some tea, but she's sick, and Rhaenyra and Alicent is just Rhaenyra.
Yeah, I really loved how that whole thing played out, start to finish. The Alicent Otto conversation, I thought was really well played. It felt like the first time they had a real conversation.
Otto showed emotion. That's how you know how serious it was.
Yeah, he showed enough emotion, but he still wasn't. He wasn't outright going "Hey, I love you. I'm supporting you." You felt like he wanted to say something nice, but in the end, he was just okay, I can't actually say it. I thought it was played immensely well. And actually, do you think Otto has a point? Hello, Jay.
Otto does have a point. It's, monarchs have been known to kill heirs who are threats to their own children inheriting. And Rhaenyra is not known for being the most trustworthy and stable person in the realm. Would I say for sure, do I think he's oversimplifying it? These are the only two possibilities. Either Aegon is king or all your children die. Okay. It's possible something else happens, but those are very real possibilities. He's not completely wrong.
Yeah, I kind of got the feeling that he wasn't just scheming to kind of get Alicent to get on board.
It's his grandchildren too, as well. He's and I think he was being sincere there.
Yeah, exactly. I actually I'm wondering, let's say Rhaenyra takes the throne. Do you think at this point it seems like people will not accept her just outright? Do you think she would go as far? From what we know from Rhaenyra right now, obviously without book spoilers, do you think she would go there?
I think if other people tried to push Aegon, but Alicent was just no, Rhaenyra is the queen, I think she'd probably just be yeah, see, I'm the queen. But I think if Alicent or Aegon like challenged her authority, I do not anticipate her being merciful and forgiving. It was an awesome episode.
Yes. I'm still kind of processing, like, to be honest. Like, I've been thinking about it the whole day. Like, oh my. So much stuff happened. Like, oh my god. So we get the Alicent Otter conversation, then we get the Larys Alicent, like Larys Strong in the Godswood. Oh, that was so good.
Like, what a shit disturber. Like,
yes, but like I loved the dialogue in that scene, man.
Yeah, it was good, but I was just like, shut up, dude. Like, why are you doing this? Also, one sec. Okay. To all the people who put my man Viserys in the, like, near last as the worst Targaryen monarch, as you can see, he has not caused all of this. Other people have caused all of this, okay? Also, yes, that I like how Daemon's wife was actually just someone who doesn't like Daemon, but seems like a completely, like, kind of cool person, which it was slightly predictable, but... and Larry's absolutely giving Glock the vibes. George obviously just plagiarizing Joe Abercrombie. Shameful.
Yeah. We actually we talked about it, I think, in the previous thing. Like in episode 3 is where he came up first, right? So, and yes, like with Rhea Royce, like so sad. Like she seemed nice. Although like the only thing we saw was her like saying to her cousin or her uncle, whatever, that she would like to hunt alone, and then we saw her like mocking Daemon. Like
but she was also clearly throwing back words Daemon said. So she was clearly just being like, "You said the sheep are prettier," and it's like, yeah, Daemon, not a good thing to say to your wife. Like, no. Also, as Jay said, Daemon must be blind because very not true.
Yeah, like I mean, doesn't make Daemon look good. And he goes on to just kill her.
Which so I don't know if he was planning that. I think Daemon is like an opportunist. I think he just puts himself in situations and then he just like does things.
Decides in the moment, what am I going to do?
He was like, hey, wait a second. This could work.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like he had it planned, to be honest, because first of all, like he didn't make a grandiose entrance with Caraxes, which we've seen that he likes to do.
That means that, like, if he was planning murder, he probably should have like brought a weapon.
I guess, like, who knows if he has some dagger or something in there. But I feel like the way that he was disguised, like, it doesn't seem like he was just like, "Hey, I'm Daemon Targaryen, I'm coming home."
That's true. Although it might have just been he was there and then he was just like, well, this worked out. We do a little murder. Also, probably because they hate each other.
Yeah, I do not know if she hates him, is the thing. Like, she hates him now.
Yeah, originally she might not have, but, you know.
Okay, I have a thing that's, I don't know if, it's not really a spoiler because it's from like 20 years ago. Like, this marriage was technically set up by Alicent. So I guess Alicent didn't make sure that they did like each other.
You know what? Alicent's still got a pretty good betrothal batting average, but you know what? No one only hits home runs. She's allowed to miss. Also, I liked Ryan Condal's thing where he was like, "There's this random sentence in Fire and Blood that's just like weirdly specific," and I was just like, "That seems suspicious." I like that. I like my showrunners obsessing over individual lines of the source material. Please feed me more of this.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, that's like, you can see that throughout the whole show, right? Like, they're making so many like small things, like even bringing in like all the Jaehaerys lore, like just mentioning random stuff at random times, which I'm like, yes. You can feel like that they love the world and also like just in general, like the story and Fire and Blood itself. I also really like that they're actually using the weird language quirks that George does in his universe. Like, I think the age thing where they always say like 7 and 10 rather than 17 or 10 and 7. How do they say it? Like,
I don't remember, but I know what you mean. Yeah, no one ever says 17 in The World of Ice and Fire.
Yeah, and also like I remember in the last episode, like when Damon and Viserys were talking about Rhaenyra, Damon was like, "Rhaenyra is a woman grown," just kind of a meme in A Song of Ice and Fire, because like Bran, 8-year-old Bran is like, "I'm almost a man grown," but like just the way they use that language, I think like just shows that yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, they definitely. I mean, like for example, Wheel of Time. I was like, hey, I think this Wraith guy might be a casual. For this, I'm like, hey, I look at Ryan and I'm like, I think I'm a casual, which I am, kind of, but
Yeah.
which is the feeling I want to have. Like he's making me feel like, huh,
Mhm.
I'm kind of a casual. This guy's a real fan.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah, and like I mean, again, I mentioned it last week, but he has this interview with History of Westeros that he did recently, and you can actually tell, like him just talking about Song of Ice and Fire, you can tell that he is a big fan. So yeah, 100% agree. Like you can just see the love for the world and just random tidbits everywhere in the show. Um, okay, so we were on Laris and Alicent. I really like how they introduced Laris, to be honest. Like, it wasn't very subtle, to be honest. Like, it was subtle in episode 3, where we just saw him sit down with the ladies just to listen to their gossiping. But here he just, it was a pretty like exposition-y kind of thing, where we see like, okay, this is this character. He's going to like scheme, and he's the kind of guy that people just don't take serious. So he can just sit at the sidelines and start observing stuff. So
yeah, like we kind of like, oh, he's shit disturber. Okay.
I think he will be interesting to see what they do with him going
I'm
forward.
not sure what side he's on. I guess he's on like the green side, but like
Spoilers.
he's kind of just like I don't remember, so I can theorize, but he's
Yeah,
just like he's causing problems for everyone.
I know there are some, like in the book there are some rumors about him. Like we know which side he's on, but there is some stuff where I'm interested to see how they play it in the show. But yeah, we can talk about that. Maybe let me put that on my list.
Oh, his side is very strong.
For the
Okay, we need to talk about the fall of my man Kristen Cole.
oh
How the mighty have fallen. He was on the grind and he got distracted by the grind, and it was a mistake. And he needs a good bonk. That's what Allison should have done. Shouldn't have been like, you have to kill yourself. I'm just gonna take this baseball bat, just go like bonk. You've now gone to horny jail.
yeah, Chris. So first of all, before we like get into the mess of the situation that they're in, did you like his acting in this?
Yeah, I like how he kind of like before like this episode he was kind of like very like cool and like all right, he knows what's going on, and now like you can tell like he's really stressed now and like he's getting kind of unhinged, and like I think he needed to really sell that, or I don't know if I would have bought like this Kristen Cole guy just suddenly like doing a little.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like, so I watched it like very late last night first, and at first I wasn't sure if like the acting was working. Like it felt like he was a bit too sulky on that boat scene with Rhaenyra. But then when I watched it again today, I watched that scene specifically because I wanted to see like how it actually played, and I actually liked it a lot. Like the second time, because I feel like he was doing a lot of subtle things. Like when after he proposes to Rhaenyra, let's run away, and Rhaenyra just walks away for a bit. Like he's doing something like his face is shivering, right? Like his facial acting in this, like just the way he's looking, and like he's doing some things with his face where I'm like, okay, like yeah, the way like you can see, you can get the emotions just by looking at him. I think in general, like the acting throughout the whole show has been amazing. So
yeah,
that's
and
not a
obviously
surprise,
like
but
he also needs to sell like obviously like he has been very much stressed about this whole like I'm a white cloak, I'm like a Kingsguard thing, and like it had to sell like him going and like confessing to Alice, although he didn't like voluntarily go like I'm gonna go confess, but just like confessing immediately. So yeah, I really liked Krista. Also, like I felt like Rhaenyra was just gonna be like, and how exactly are we gonna feed like the dragon? Like, and how are we gonna hide like the dragon? Like, you are aware I have a dragon and like clearly am Valyrian, right? Like, I'm not exactly subtle.
I mean, I think the dragon can't. feed
feed
themselves.
itself. Yeah,
Like,
it's true.
yeah, like
But how are they gonna hide the dragon? Like, yeah,
they
we'll
don't
be
need-
anonymous. We'll just anonymously have Syrax. Is that her dragon's name?
Yes, Cyrex, yeah, but
Yeah.
yes, whatever. It's, but the thing is, I think like if they go to the east, I think nobody really cares, right? Like
No one cares about the flying lizard that kills people.
not the flying lizard, like about
Oh, the
the
Valyrian
Targaryen
thing.
being
Yeah,
there. Yeah,
that's true.
Like we have like in the past, we have cases of Targaryens just running away.
That's true. I feel like Viserys is gonna like go try and get her back though, and she's not exactly good at hiding. And like the plan of like we can just be anonymous. I mean, you're not gonna be anonymous. Everyone's gonna know who you are. You're clearly Targaryen, and you have a dragon. Like it's not exactly
true, but
a complicated puzzle.
What's Viserys gonna do? Like, who is he gonna send? He can't go himself. He barely can go to Driftmark and not come back home, almost dead.
That's true. I mean, he'd probably send like a couple Kingsguard. Like, hey, go get Rhaenyra.
I mean, so I think Cyrex can deal with a few Kingsguards.
Yeah, but I don't think Rhaenyra is down for that. Like the whole like Rhaenyra doesn't want to live like on the run, like and having her dragon murder Kingsguard. Like she knows like this anonymous thing is not actually like Kristen's plan is like we'll just be anonymous. No one will know who we are.
Yeah.
And Rhaenyra's just like, have you thought this through? And Kristen's just like, no, I haven't thought this through. I'm super stressed out right now, and I'm about to kill someone and confess and die.
Yeah, I agree. Like he's being like super, I would say, romantic about it. That like it will be easy. Like I love that the whole story he does. I think he actually doesn't make that bad of a case. Like it sounds good. At like just if you listen to it and don't think about it, it sounds like, hey, we'll go to Sunspear, we'll sail with these ships that have oranges and cinnamon and explore the whole world. Like what's not to like? And then I just think her response was like, do you think I would exchange infamy for like a bushel of oranges?
Yeah,
laughing
Jay.
at that. But
how did Sayera running away go? Like
very good. She no, was it her? No, I think it was somebody else. But there is somebody who ran away, who was like she was the ruler of Lys, like in all but name. But I don't think that's Sarah. I think that's the Black Swan. But I mean, Sarah, I think she's doing pretty well.
But
like
also, like the point is they're trying to escape, like ruler being a ruler. Like they want to just be like anonymous.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like Targaryen's running away, and like she ran away, became a sex worker, and she went to the best place to become a sex worker. To be honest, like Lys is based on sex work, so and she became a very influential person there. Like I think in when we're talking about the Great Council in the book, they're even like that Sarah Targaryen would have like one of the best claims technically because she's his daughter.
And then Jaehaerys is just like, no.
No, like
I guess
so. Actually, like there were some claims where like some of her bastards came from Lys to like put a claim forth, but they mentioned that she didn't come because, and apparently she said like I have my kingdom of my own here. I don't need the Seven Kingdoms. So I would assume she didn't do like badly at least. Yeah, but I like the orange thing because it was a funny line, but it was also super cruel because it's like he painted you this nice picture with these oranges and you're just being like, really? Oranges?
He should have been like, I hear there are nice lemon trees in Bravos.
Oh, I thought about the lemon trees in Bravos today. So when Larry Strong was like talking about that weird plant that was there, was it some flower? And that line, like his first line, it was like, what was it? A stranger thriving amongst like enemies or something. Like that flower has no right to grow in King's Landing. Like there is so much like subtext there. One, like actually the flower. Two, Alicent in King's Landing. Like she refuses to play the game at that point, so she really is out of her depth. Larys himself, who isn't being taken serious. And then I was wondering if it's a thing about the lemon trees, because the lemon tree thing is that I won't go into the Daenerys lemon tree tangent. That is something that I have on my mind. Again, like that Laris and Allison conversation, I think it is very like straightforward. Like he is pretty blunt with what he's saying, but there is a lot of subtext as well, and he never like outright. Neither of them like outright says like treasonous things.
Yeah,
And
they're
it's the
leaving
same
some plausible deniability. Yeah.
exactly, and the same with Kristen and Alicent. Like Alicent is like, of course, I would like never question the princess's virtue, but like there are some rumors about her and X. Like she obviously means Damon.
Yeah,
like, she got a bit lucky. Right?
Yeah, she absolutely. Oh, yeah, she absolutely got lucky. She was like, she was shocked when Kristen was like, "Yes, they're true," and she was just like, "I knew it," and Kristen's just like, "Yes, I slept with Rhaenyra," and Alison is just like, "Excuse me, what?"
That's not what I was looking for, but okay.
But it's also like, all right. Then that part was both painful and also kind of funny in a like dark, ironic way.
Wait. Okay, I think this is a joke, but I didn't know you have read Kushiel's art, Jay.
Jay saying true story with that face at the end means he's being entirely sincere and is never lying.
That's like this before the Kushiel started. So yeah.
Oh, you're freezing a little bit. So I'm just gonna monologue while he figures out his internet. Hi everyone, it's just me now. I've conquered the channel. I agree with Chadia. I also don't think. Oh, he's back. My monologue is over.
Hi.
Yeah, I also don't think Rhaenyra is that strongly attached to Kristen. I think she's just like when she. It's not like when she's talking to what's his name, Laenor. Laenor's like got a specific person in mind. Rhaenyra's just like, I'll then just do whatever I want. Which it's kind of funny that when Laenor's like, yeah, when they're doing like the analogy, Laenor's just like, I just don't like women, and Rhaenyra's like, I just don't like you. Which I just find kind of funny. Well, it's not that she doesn't like him. It's just like Laenor is just like, oh, it's just me now. I'm the captain now. Look at me. All right, everyone. So since I own Sheikh's channel now, I can now sell out for Sheikh. So everyone make sure you like and subscribe. And he doesn't have a Patreon, but make sure you badger him into making a Patreon. And then you send him just all your money. This is what he would want. All right. Oh, and he's back. There we go. Hello.
See, we talked about this and it happened.
Yeah, and you know what? It was fine. It's live. The people are enjoying it. It's fine.
Okay, that's good.
Do these look like angry emojis?
They do not. They do not. But I was like, oh no, is my internet going to die forever now? Like, this will be the perfect.
It would just be me. I'd just be like, I'll just be like, I'll just do Sheikh's review of episode 5 because we basically agree, I think. So I'll just start reviewing episode 5.
That's true. But I think we both like pretty much everything. We haven't actually talked about it. Like, I don't know. I thought you might like it a bit less. I thought this might give you some Winds of Winter vibes at the end there, but
yeah, I mean, this is if I was going to give this episode a con. Which, are you guys ready for the nitpickiest of all nitpicky cons? I jokingly considered like starting being like, this was terrible. It's just like Winds of Winter. Look how little sense this makes. Like they didn't clean up the blood. Do you know how many servants they probably have? Like they didn't clear one. They were just like,
I don't care. That final.
Yeah, I don't care either. This is like when people think this is like what I think people think I'm like criticizing when I talk about like late episodes of Game of Thrones that people like. No, that is what we call a nitpick. That's irrelevant. That doesn't matter. No, this episode was solid. It's like the character actions, they made no sense in that they were completely illogical, but they were made so much sense in that they were in character, which is exactly what I want. I don't want logical characters. Favorite characters fit Chivalry Farseer and Harry Dresden. Do you think I want characters who are logic and sound and rational?
So Chadia here is saying, I just think Rhaenyra doesn't love Kristen. She clearly has feelings for Daemon. What do you think about that?
That seems reasonable, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think she loves Kristen. I'm not sure how advanced her feelings for Daemon are either, to be honest. Like, it's a bit of a weird relationship between the two. So yeah, with Kristen, I think she's mostly just like having fun.
Yeah, and it's like I this is what I talked about at the start when your internet was gone. Like, it's kind of funny because Laenor, like, he had a specific person in mind for like their thing, and I think Rhaenyra didn't. Rhaenyra was just like, I'll just do whatever I want then. I also think it's funny that, like, for the analogy for like the I don't enjoy duck, Laenor, it's just like, yeah, I don't enjoy sleeping with women in general, and Rhaenyra is just like, I just don't want to sleep with you.
Yeah, and also like I like that they had the conversation was a bit weird, like with the duck and goose. But do you think it was like subtle enough to get the point across? Like, I'm wondering like how many people actually got that.
I think most people got it.
Okay.
And then they made it more clear after. So the people who didn't get it will have gotten it in hindsight.
Yeah, and I just love it because like there is this line from, I guess I'm just saying like the book thing. Like again, this isn't a spoiler. It's just a funny thing. Like when they propose the marriage, Maester Mellos, the Grand Maester, like so they bring up the point that like Laenor is gay. Like, should we consider him actually as a candidate for Rhaenyra's hand? And Mellos is like, well, I don't like the taste of fish, but when fish is served, I eat it anyway.
I remember that. Yeah.
So I think they kind of took that idea and just built a whole conversation out of it.
Yeah, and then Rhaenyra was like, okay, but once we've eaten the fish, like, we don't have to eat it again. Bring out the dessert menu.
I have to be careful what I say. So again, another point for the spoiler thing. I literally just wrote down fish. I literally wrote down fish. I hope I remember what that means.
What that means, yeah. Also, Chadia for the latest comment. Not exactly the most. Yeah, it's too subtle for me. Sorry, I didn't catch any of that. Just a hint, you know.
Yeah,
but also it could have also just been banter. So she's got deniability.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think she would mind it if he actually did that.
Probably not.
But again, like I don't think they are in a position where it's like I wouldn't call it love, like maybe infatuation. Like maybe she thinks that Daemon is cool, and like Daemon can basically do what she wants to do without consequences, mostly. So I think it's more about that. I don't think she's in love with him necessarily.
I would agree.
But yeah, there is definitely a spark there, though. That's how I see it, at least. Yes, Jay, this was peak content, I think. Chaos is always what people want. Chaos is matter,
that's what
so
I'm here
that's how it
also
works.
All right, we need to talk about my man Viserys here, because I think Viserys had a couple standout scenes. One is I really liked the negotiation with Corlys. I was like, I was proud of my boy. I was like, that is a totally reasonable compromise. My man, not a bottom tier king, middle of the pack. And then at the end, when he was just like, I wonder where Jake will rank me on my tier list. And Lionel Strong was like, well, Jake will probably put you middle in the pack, and some other people will put you lower. But who cares? You got to live through peace. Who cares where people rank you on the tier list? So I appreciated that conversation.
Yes, I think they saw your video probably. Yeah, but in general, like I think Viserys, man, he's been the standout like throughout the whole season. Like I had various episodes where I thought Rhaenyra was the standout. I had this episode, I think Alicent was the standout. Daemon as well in the last 2 episodes has been incredible. But Viserys just constantly is doing an amazing job. Like Paddy Considine. Yeah, I'm impressed. Like, and it's not even that he's a one-note character. Like he hits a lot of different notes. Like this whole thing about like him thinking about what his legacy will be. I think he's kind of realizing that like his health is not good enough, that he won't live a long time anymore. So he's now think about it.
He's like, I don't think I'm gonna be the second old king.
Yeah. So it is a very logical like aspect to add to the character, and I think again Viserys is such a side note in the book, which I think is one of the reasons why people don't rank him that high, right? Like we were talking about like Jaehaerys the other day, right? Like we have so much about Jaehaerys, so much cool stuff that he does, and like we have such a pretty good idea what his character was, right? Like how he was as a person throughout his life. So I think there is just a lot more to go by to push Jaehaerys up. Whereas Viserys is just like in the book, he's a jolly fella who just likes to throw parties and is just ignoring the fact.
Yeah, I also like
People are.
the way things are shot, like how well they capture like how sick of, not like literally sick, but how sick of like ruling related stuff is. Like when he's walking through Driftmark, like they just have him like plodding along, and it's just like with like these heavy steps. And then I think that's one of the reasons he likes Lionel Strong is when he's like, you know, most other advisors would be like, you would rise and be Aegon the Conqueror. He's like, he's sick of that. Like, and then you had his speech afterwards where he gets interrupted halfway through and then everyone applauds at him. Like, this is one of the things that like he keeps being sick of. And I think it's one reason he likes Lionel so much is that Lionel wouldn't be like, oh, that was a moving speech, Your Grace. But everyone just keeps being like, no matter what he does, they're just like, oh, fantastic. And he's just like plodding through. So yeah, I like that happened. That's like when he speared the boar as well. Like the same thing. And he keeps being like, I know I'm not doing a good job. Can you stop pretending like I'm doing the best job ever? And I think that kind of was like, what are people actually going to think of me in hindsight? Because he knows in 100 years, people aren't going to be like, oh, His Grace was graceful while spearing the boar and gave a moving speech. And he has no idea what people will think of him when they aren't judging him as their current monarch. Yeah, and it's been a through line through like almost every episode of like how tired he is of people just like,
yeah, and I agree. Like, I love the Viserys, Corlys, and Rhaenys conversation at Driftmark, where they're proposing the marriage, and I also really like that they talked about this thing because that's something I was confused by in the book. Like, if the female would inherit the throne, does the whole dynasty change? Like, would the Valerians become the royal dynasty? So I think it makes sense that they address that. And I think it makes a lot of sense to do it the way they proposed, right? Like,
absolutely. Yeah. Also, one thing to note is he said like he made it clear that he's not just picking Alicent. He's saying like for now on, like the law will be that just the oldest child comes of age. And I thought he might bring out like Targaryen exceptionalism, like be like, you know, generally when a guy marries a girl, like they take the family name of the male house, but Targaryens are not generally, like that rule doesn't apply to Targaryens, which I think, I mean, I think Corlys still might have taken. Corlys might be like, it's still my bloodline on the throne. But it would have been a bit risky. And I think instead, like the compromise of like, okay, it'll be the Valerians, but whoever ends up the monarch, like the monarchs will be Targaryens.
Yes. The last line I think, right, is like he tells Lionel, sometimes it's best not to know. Like basically him being like, well, I think he's basically accepting like maybe he would be ineffectual even if he had a lot more challenges. Like that's basically what he's saying, right? Like if I had more challenges, I had to like actually conquer land, fight wars. Maybe I would have been different. Maybe I would have.
Yeah, maybe he's just like maybe it isn't better to know like that I would have crumbled had I like you know not played Targaryen monarch on easy mode for most of my reign.
Yeah, I mean I guess like he would be comparable to Aenys maybe.
Yeah, I mean Viserys. I think like I think Viserys is a stronger ruler than Aenys, like even relative to their situations. But yeah, like he probably like wouldn't have done well as a wartime king. Like the thing is about Aenys is Aenys not only was indecisive, he didn't let anyone else be decisive. And I feel like Viserys, like if there was a war that he knew nothing about, it's likely he would have delegated a lot more effectively than Aenys. Because Aenys not only didn't make a decision, he didn't let anyone else make any decisions. He was just like, he just put everything on pause. And I don't think Viserys would have done that to the same degree. And that was one of the most like reasons why Aenys was such a disaster.
Yeah, that makes sense. But so apparently this is a British thing. I'm not very well versed in real life monarchy rules, how it works. Jake is more of a history buff, so maybe.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that either, but it makes sense. And anyway, I was proud of my board with the reasonable compromises. All the people being like, he caused this crap. No, Kristen Cole caused it. Okay, I'll have all know Viserys was one Valerian actually like being down to get married with a girl away from having a relatively peaceful transition of power, probably. Okay, maybe that's a stretch, You know what I mean? Look at
I
all
mean,
these shenanigans going around Viserys. Okay.
yeah, I think like Viserys' main issue is that he isn't. I mean, I guess like he did send Otto away, so I guess like he did technically try to like stop this whole scheming to get Aegon on the throne. Like he did technically do something, right?
Oh yeah.
But
So my
yeah,
fire analogy stands. Like if a building is on fire, he's not a good firefighter. He's not putting out the fire, but he also didn't like actually light the building on fire. Like the worst kings of Westeros, like Maegor was like, "Ooh, this looks like it would make good kindling." Um, you know,
yeah,
the Mad King was like, "Hey, I think it'd be funny if we burned the city down." Almost literally. But and Viserys was
yeah.
not like that. He was just like the building's on fire, and the building was on fire, and it wasn't my fault.
So,
And I'm
are
not
you?
going to do anything effective about it. But I do
You're
have
actually saying Viserys is Harry Dresden? No. So I can't believe I have to defend Harry from you, of all people. But
no,
no,
no, because it is Harry's fault usually when the building is on fire, but also he's pretty good at putting out fires, so they're different.
yes,
That was just a line for the people who know.
Viserys is not good at putting out fires. He's like good at keeping them. I don't know. He's good at letting them go.
But he's good at not starting. Like he hasn't started any fires. Like this is why, like he didn't. It's still a reasonably good time to be alive at this point in the show if you live in Westeros. Like I'm just saying, if Maegor took over, like if we just took Maegor over, things would have still gone to hell. They just would have gone to hell earlier.
That's a good question. What would happen if Maegor comes after Jaehaerys? Like, but I mean, we don't need to get into that particular thing. What I also like in that Viserys, Rhaenys, and Corlys thing is that it was very tense at the start with when it was just Corlys and Viserys. Then Rhaenys just comes in and is like, cousin. I thought it was funny. But what I really loved is when she shakes his hand and she feels like that he doesn't have the thing.
Oh, yeah.
She's like,
and she's missing his thumb now on that hand as well.
Really?
When he's having the bath, yeah, he's missing. You can tell he's missing his left thumb now too. So his left hand now is basically just useless. Like he has like just this.
Oh, okay. That makes sense because in the end, like when he's trying to cut the chicken, like he just can't cut it, right? Like, so okay, that makes sense. But yeah, it was such a sad moment where she's like just looking at him and being like, and then just like, "Are you okay?"
And also like his arm looks off. He's not looking good.
Yeah, and like in general, like Rhaenys also later when she's alone with Corlys, like she says like it was undignified for the king to come here and beg for Leonor's hand, right? Like she sees that like it's not a good look for Viserys. Like I think I really like Rhaenys in this episode. Like finally we get some Valerians. Like I think they did a good job with all the Valerians this episode. I feel like I wish we got a bit of them earlier, in some earlier episodes, especially Laenor and Lena.
Also, Driftmark is cool. I just want to say that.
Driftmark is
like the one like path to get there. Mm-hmm. Like I like defensible castles. I'm like, when I read World of Ice and Fire when they're describing the defenses, I'm like, ooh, double wall with a moat in between. That's really cool. Like River, and it's like, oh, they can flood the moat and make like an entire like lake around them. That's awesome. And when I see Driftmark, I'm just like, you could hold that against a pretty big army.
Mm. Yeah, and I actually have that as a point. Like High Tide looks awesome. Like I think so. This was High Tide, right? The Newcastle. I think so. I
don't know.
Like so, basically, like I think it's like two islands, right? So there is one island that always gets flooded. That's why it's called Driftmark because they always have driftwood on their shores. So their original castle was on the other side, but it would always get flooded. So Corlys actually built this new one, which it's fun. Also, did you notice the Corlys brought a new treasure home? Did you notice that?
Oh, he brought what?
He brought the crab feeder's mask.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
So right when it cuts to the scene where Rhaenys and Corlys are alone, he's looking at a mask, and I didn't realize it was the crab feeder's mask at the start. I was like, "What is he looking at? Why is he just looking at it and smiling?" And then I realized, oh, it's that mask. So
that's cool. Also, I like the dynamic because Corlys is like happy about this whole marriage to the Targaryen line thing, but isn't actually like personally happy to see Viserys, and Rhaenys is the opposite. Rhaenys is like, I don't know if this is a good idea, but like she's actually just like she likes Viserys. Like Viserys is relative. Like she's actually just like, oh, cool, hi Viserys.
I think they are family. Like I think that it's like good to notice. Like they aren't just because it was between the two of them at the Great Council. It's not like they hate each other.
Yeah.
I think they still have somewhat of a healthy relationship.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think Rhaenys holds it personally against Viserys that he's king. She's kind of like the people who chose the monarch. They kind of took it from me, but like Viserys, he was just the other person who got chosen. I know what you're talking about. Viserys is going to live forever. We don't spoil for it. He's actually going to become the first immortal. He's going to be Old King 2, Electric or something. Also, Jay, I'm glad that you appreciate that I put in Dresden dialogue in House of the Dragon discussion.
Yes, I agree. Like, I think Rhaenys looked awesome in this episode. The wig, I actually noticed the wig. Like, I think it fits very well, and I think she in general, like, I don't know what exactly they did with the costuming for Rhaenys and Corlys. Like, I don't know what style it is, but it looked good. It looked different from everybody else, but it also looked really nice, I think. Jay noticed the mask, so
I don't think it's a spoiler to try to say that that Viserys dies at some point. I mean, especially if you saw the preview, it doesn't like he's and Otto straight up told us.
If you haven't seen the preview, you might think that Viserys is dead already. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's alive. He's just he's not looking great. Viserys is the Night King. That's got to be an actual theory. Someone find it.
I don't. Okay, that's one where I don't buy in. Normally, when this happens, I'm like, actually, but today I'm like, okay, this goes too far. It would be fun though.
Maybe like that thing he drank is something like Beerwood related, and it connected him with like the Beerwood network, and I don't know.
Okay, let's talk about that. So first of all, his whole arm is basically he has stuff on his arm. I don't know what is happening with him, but that does not look good. And did you notice that? So we had two Maesters there. We had all good.
Yeah, I was just checking.
Okay, so
yeah,
we
one
had
of the Maesters is.
What happened? What did you say?
One sec. So I said, yeah, there's the two Maesters. There's like the young one who's like, hey, like we have a poultice that might actually be healing, and the old Maester's just like, His Grace has always been relieved by leeches. Do not interfere.
The guy is dying. He's like, no. What we're doing is working.
This is fine.
So we will come back to that in the spoiler channel because I have some more things to say about that. But like, it's funny because I feel like a lot of even that was like enough to even make casual audiences pick up on the fact that Melos is maybe not the best person to take care of him.
Yeah, so Jay made a GIF of me, and it's like me being like, "Is this the Maester conspiracy?" But okay, this actually is like, I'll grant you all this one.
Okay, last week, like the stuff that we were talking about last week, like with the foreshadowing, was quite subtle. This week, I think they went for it. Like they were like, "This is a thing."
Although, again, the implication is not that all the Maesters are in a conspiracy because these two are acting against each other. It should be more like there's like, stuff happening at the Citadel and there's conflict and people are arguing about like what the best course of action is. Not like, one big circle where they're just like, we will kill all the dragons.
That's fair. Oh my God. Here. Oh, stop it. No.
He's the Night King.
Speaking of Aegon's dream, was Rhaenyra about to tell Kristen about the prophecy?
I'm not sure. Yeah, because she was kind of like, I think she's just gonna be like, I have a duty to the crown, not like I have a duty to not let my father, when he's the Night King in the future, kill everyone.
No, but seriously, because she was going like, this is bigger than the Iron Throne. When Aegon came, he reunited the realm, and then Kristen just walks away.
Like, yeah, I don't know what she was going for.
What were
she wasn't not known for her foresight.
I'm like, Viserys is like, you have to protect the secret. She's like, Hey, man.
Like, okay, but Viserys, have you considered this guy's kind of hot?
It's just no, but I was like, you're not going to actually tell him, right? But then he just walked away. I was like, okay, good.
I feel like,
I
do we
didn't.
want to go switch to Fire and Blood spoilers at this point? We've had 45 minutes. I feel like we're like sitting on the edge of Fire and Blood spoiler stuff.
We are like maybe. Do you quickly want to just talk about the wedding without Fire and Blood spoilers?
That's true. Oh, what wedding? It wasn't a significant event. Okay, wedding. First thing I really like, I like how Rhaenyra and Laenor are both kind of like happy about their arrangement, so they actually look like a happy couple when really they're just like, I'm happy we've agreed that we don't have to bone after I have one kid. So they kind of like to outsiders, like they look like a happy couple, and people are just like, oh look, this is going so well.
Yes, risky business that they agreed upon there. That's all I'd say. Yeah, but I agree. Like, I think it was funny, like how happy they look. Like Rhaenyra just like, yay, I'm getting married and I'm getting what I want. Like she's literally getting her cake, like eating her cake and having it. Like, is that the?
Getting her cake and eating it too, which I don't know how that expression makes sense. What does that even mean?
I think it just means that like.
Oh, getting to like keep your cake visually and eating it. I think.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's all. I don't know. Maybe Jay knows in the comments, but yeah, like I think the wedding, like again, I think I mentioned at the start, like just the way they build tension slowly throughout the thing. Right, we start Lannisters walk in, and Jason Lannister is just being a goof once again.
Jason Lannister might be like one of my most enjoyable characters. Like I love every scene he's on, even though like he's such a ridiculous person, and like Jason Lannister, man, like that. It's like basically it's like the arrogance of the Lannisters, but like with none of the cunning or intelligence.
Yeah, but he thinks he is cunning. That's the important thing. He thinks like he's the smartest person there.
And he thinks he's Tywin. He's actually like Tommen in terms of cunning.
I think you're underselling Tommen, to be honest. So first of all, I really like he comes there and he's like, "You made a good match for the princess, Your Grace." And Rhaenyra is like, "Yes, I couldn't think of a better husband than Laenor." He's just like,
I mean, everyone disappoints Tywin, and Jason is incredibly disappointing. So
yeah, I think there's like Kevin might be the only person who didn't disappoint Tywin, like explicitly, like literally, his father disappointed him, his sister disappointed him. Like it is, like I don't want to get again diverted there, but like there's a whole story with him and his father.
Basically, the plot of A Song of Ice and Fire is people take turns disappointing Tywin Lannister.
Yeah, I mean, Jaime is technically the only one that didn't explicitly disappoint him, but that's because he just overlooked. But yeah, that's because he's overlooking everything that Jaime does. Like because he just thinks Jaime is perfect and Tyrion is horrible. Like,
but also he's like, Jaime, you could do like a lot better.
Yes, I mean throughout the story. Yes, I mean like at the start, basically.
That's true.
Where no subtlety. Yeah, but you don't think the line that he was like, what did he say when he was like when he talked about Alicent? Like that's why men wage war because women would never get ready for that.
Yeah.
Like Rhaenyra's look after that, she was just like, dude.
She was just like, have you considered not talking?
I mean, she literally said, "It's always a joy to talk with you, Jason."
And Jason like legitimately was like, "Oh, look, I'm pleasant to talk to."
What?
Jason like didn't get that Rhaenyra was just like, "You're an idiot." Jason was just like, "Oh, look, the princess thinks I'm pleasant to talk to."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had Jason, then we had the Hightowers coming in, but then the Royce guy just interrupts, and then we have the entrance for the Valerians, which I loved, and I really enjoyed the music. Like the music in this episode was amazing. So I think this is the first time we heard both the Valerian team and the Hightower team. So the Valerian team played earlier at High Tide, and it played when they were entering, and the Hightower team played, I think, when for sure when Alicent walked in, but also maybe when earlier Otto and Alicent were talking. I think it may have played there as well. But yeah, and then that spin on the Prince That Was Promised theme. So the music at the very end, like it's the same theme as at the end of episode 1 when Rhaenyra's named the heir. It's just a bit of a sad twist to it. I just love it like that. I love the music. I could talk about it for a while, but yeah. So we get we get the Valerians, and then we get just Damon walked in there. I was like, dude. It's just like he just walks in, is just smirking. Is like, so are you going to throw me out? Like he's just smiling.
And then he's like, oh yeah, he because he's just like, I feel like he's kind of fine either way. Like he's like, I got thrown out. Cool. I stay.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, and also like Viserys is just like, what do I do now? And he's like, no drama. There will be no drama at this wedding.
Yeah, it's family, marriage. Yeah. Marriage is always a happy time in Westeros.
But it also like it really startled him because you can see like he was about to say something and then he's like, okay, so okay, yes, then we get Alicent. We didn't talk about Alicent, and we were.
Yeah, she's a little bit at the start. Yeah.
No, but I mean this particular scene.
Oh yeah, yeah. When she comes in like with like the all greens walking by, like glancing at the Hightowers who are also all wearing green, and it's like, you know, and then she's like, "Oh look, Sheikh made his background and names green." To be clear, I do not have a choice for this color scheme. This was his idea.
My channel logo is green. This is not a statement about the show. But also, I did say last week that I feel like the greens. I'm surprised because I lean Team Black. I don't have a strong feeling either way, but I lean Team Black in the book. I think they've done a great job at making the greens look
more good. Reasonable. Yeah, I mean, especially like I feel like Alicent's looking like, okay, she's good reason to be upset with Rhaenyra here, and to be concerned about the future of like her children and stuff. And I think before this, she'd never even considered that like Rhaenyra would be really like awful, and now she's kind of like, now she's considered it. Yeah. So.
And again, like I think the fact that Rhaenyra swore on her mother's memory last week, I think that's a really big thing because that was something that they used to connect it to, right? Like in episode 2 when they're praying, like they connected over the fact that both of them lost their mothers, and like I think Alicent took that oath very seriously. That's why she believed her.
Yeah, and does Alicent remember that Rhaenyra was Aes Sedaiing it and being like, and that swore that basically like nothing happened with Daemon? I don't think Alicent's going to appreciate the technicality.
What is happening? What is Jay talking about? What about?
I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea what Jay's talking about. I think he heard the word Cyrax at some point. I don't know.
Okay, I don't know.
Maybe
okay,
Cyrax, I have no idea. Did Cyrax fly by at some point in this episode? Who knows? Jay, tell us what you're talking about.
Okay, why was Alicent angry at Viserys?
Yeah, because he got rid of Otto.
Exactly. I think the thing is like the fact that Alicent knows that Viserys sent the Moontie to Rhaenyra, it tells her that Viserys actually believed Otto, and he's still unnamed exactly. Otto. So it's like it's obvious that he's trying to like cover up for Rhaenyra, like, and
also,
basically like,
hello, Margaret.
Yes, hello. Alicent definitely feels betrayed by Rhaenyra. She believed her and vouched for her innocence amidst the accusation, but I also don't believe for one moment she would have ratted Rhae out had she told the truth. I think I agree with her. I don't think actually I don't know. Alicent is like quite.
I think if Rhae had just been like, yeah, I did a thing, I think Alicent might have been like to Viserys said the truth, but then been like, this happens. Like we should push this under the rug. Like focusing on this is like not a good idea. And then Otto would have been mad at her. Like you had a chance to make Aegon the heir. Anyway, but I don't know if she would have hidden it from Viserys, but I think she would have pushed Viserys to basically not take retributive action against Rhaenyra. I could be wrong though. This is just my guess.
Yeah, like what I'm just thinking is they've set her up as very much a rule follower and somebody that actually wants things to go how they're supposed to go. Like that's why she's still supporting Rhaenyra, right? Like she's like, we've named her the heir. We bent the knee to her, like our own house pledged fealty to her, so we should follow through on that. So I feel like if Rhaenyra like actually does something that again puts her claim into question, I don't know what Alicent would do, to be honest.
I'm also not sure, but
yeah,
it'll be interesting to find out.
Yes. Yeah, and then like obviously like after Alicent, I love her walking in. The dress looked awesome. I actually liked the color grading because we had a shot of the scene in the second trailer, I think, and it looked quite dull. Like I remember thinking like that entrance didn't look good because it was a bit darker, but here it was like very vibrant. So I like it, and I also like that they told us that like when the high towers are at war, they light the beacon of the high tower in the green flame. It's like kind of a statement. We had a bit of a discussion on Daniel Green's Discord that it's not that every time a high tower wears green, it's telling people, hey, we're at war, but it's mostly because she's the queen. And usually at an official function, you would like expect her to wear Targaryen colors. And she's wearing Hightower colors. So she's saying like my allegiances lie with House Hightower, but also like doing it right after her father has been dismissed kind of adds a bit of an undertone there that hey, I don't support the fact that my father was dismissed. I think that's kind of what we're supposed to take from
It's
that.
like, yeah, just because someone's wearing green for Hightower, that doesn't mean they're about to go to war with the realm. But like,
Yes.
if someone was going against if someone were to, they would wear green. It's necessary but not sufficient.
Yes, exactly. But it's especially significant because it's Alicent. Because they made a big point of making her wear black and red in the last 3 episodes. Like since she's married with
she was wearing the same dress, remember? Pointed that out. That was before she got married. This isn't actually true.
Okay.
But yes, obviously Alicent, because she's Alicent Targaryen now, right? Like, so her coming in as Alicent, like she's clearly kind of coming in like, no, I'm Alicent Hightower.
And then also like she has that talk with Hobart, where he's like, "Hey, I thought you would." He says something like, "Without your father's shadow, like you would crumble or something." But we see like you're flourishing. And Old Town is with you. I'm sure that will not be relevant at all. Like that Old Town is with us.
None of these loyalties are important at all. It's all going to be fun.
Yes. And also, like, if people don't know, that's why it's called We Light the Way. This episode, We Light the Way are the words of House Hightower. Because Hightower with the flame at the top, so they literally light the way.
Yeah.
That's right.
All the it'd be funny if the others were that. I mean, I guess the Stark ones is pretty literal. They're just like winter is coming. All the others are like some statement. They're just like telling you, factually, like winter's coming. By the way, is it summer or winter in Westeros right now? I guess it doesn't matter as much because in the South. I guess it's summer right now because it's going to be winter later. I don't know.
I have no idea.
It's not as big of a thing. Like I feel like that is one thing like they've kind of forgotten about. Like in A Song of Ice and Fire, like whether it's winter or summer is like a really big deal. But I think it's also because they've been in a really long summer in A Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah, let's switch to spoilers. What Jay said. Okay. Everyone here is Red Fire and Millennium. Come on.
Okay, so let's switch this nice ticker to full spoiler stream. Okay, now you're allowed to talk spoilers in the comments. Everybody who hasn't read Fire and Blood, you should probably leave if you don't want to be spoiled for the show.
You should leave. We're going to spoil things. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Everyone, we can now spoil Fire and Blood. Okay. I can defend my man Viserys properly because look at all these shenanigans that caused the Dance of the Dragons. Like, if all these people weren't being terrible, he would have, not preluded the worst war in Targaryen history. He doesn't get, I know he didn't do great, but Dance of the Dragons is not his fault. I have seen Targaryen rankings put him second last. Or maybe third last, only ahead of the Mad King and Aegon IV, which is absurd. He's not. He is middle of the pack.
I would definitely put his 2 kids below him.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, I think for me it's mostly just that I book Viserys. We don't see him actually ever trying to do anything to stop the war, because in the books, in the show at this point, we still aren't at the stage where Rhaenyra and Alicent are like actually publicly in conflict, right? Like I think it just started where Alicent, when she walks in, she heard the look she gave Rhaenyra, and she was like, "I'm happy for you, stepdaughter. Like this must be an honor for you, or something." I think this is the start of this whole like publicly seeing these two factions form, and I think we'll see that over the course of the next 2, 3 episodes. And if Viserys doesn't realize what's happening, I think at that point it gets like he's either ignoring it on purpose, like he either just doesn't want to deal with it, or he's choosing to ignore certain things.
Yeah,
And I think
he's an idiot. Okay, don't get me wrong. I don't think he's a good king. Okay, I just think I see people put him below. Like I see people put him below Maegor, his Aegon II, like Aenys. Like no, he's better than all of those. And yes, he's an idiot. Like okay, he's yes, he absolutely. Although who knows, maybe he did a little bit, but even so, probably like he does not do a good job of handling the whole Alicent Rhaenyra conflict. Okay, but still, like he doesn't. Like people are like, oh, he has to be this low because he caused the Dance of the Dragons, which was like the most destructive conflict in Targaryen history. And it's like, okay, was he technically one of the causal factors of the Dance of the Dragons? Yes. Is it? But it's ridiculous to be like he's responsible for the Dance of the Dragons. He's partially responsible, but like as we can see, a lot of people are responsible for the Dance of the Dragons.
Yeah. Jaehaerys is partially responsible for it.
Okay, Margaret, Aenys almost caused the destruction of the realm due to being indecisive. Aenys was a good person. Like, as a person, Aenys is I like Aenys, but he was a terrible monarch. He had, like, this big conflict, and not only did he do nothing, all he had to do was pick one. Like, either would have been fine. One would have been better, but he chose to choose nothing and didn't let anyone choose anything and almost caused the collapse of the realm. He was pretty bad. Like, he was just worse Viserys. I like Aenys, though. Like, he's the biggest gap between king quality and person quality is Aenys, but still.
So what I want to know, Margaret, do you rank Aenys above Jaehaerys? Because you're the person who said Jaehaerys sucks the other day. You
I think she says Jaehaerys sucks as a person.
That's what I want to know. But I guess yes. But yeah, I don't know. I'd like to hear your Aenys thoughts, actually. Like, what's your defense of him?
Oh yeah, you're right. So yeah, the other two are terrible people as well as terrible kings.
Yes,
Aenys is like, if I had to pick a Targaryen king to hang out with, like I'd probably pick Aegon 5. But Aenys would be up there.
I was also going to say Aegon 5. Aenys, I don't know. I feel like Aenys would be a bit boring.
Hey, are you just considering people who aren't murderers boring? Come on.
No, but like I don't know. Maybe I don't remember enough. But like, what is Aenys interested in?
I don't remember, but I remember being like, I kind of like this dude, and then feeling really bad for him because of how bad of a king he was. Yeah, Margaret slanders Jaehaerys, but yeah.
I don't know if he meant Margaret or me, because I think you ignored the fact that when you said Viserys is partially responsible for the Dance of the Dragons, I said technically Jaehaerys is also partially responsible for the Dance of the Dragons.
Everyone is a causal factor for everything. Okay, that's how causality works. And yes, Viserys is a larger factor than a lot of people, but there's a lot of things that cause the Dance of the Dragons. Okay. Anyway, this has been my Viserys defense.
Who's to say if Viserys had changed the heir to Aegon, Rhaenyra wouldn't have rebelled? That's a good question. I think if Viserys changes the heir to Aegon, the question is, does he also do the same thing where he gets people to actually swear fealty to Aegon? I think a lot of houses like the Starks who swore fealty to Rhaenyra might still support her. But I feel like if Aegon is the official heir, Rhaenyra would lose a lot of her supporters. I think a lot of her support is based on the fact that people just pledge fealty to her. I don't think especially, I don't know about book Rhaenyra, but show Rhaenyra isn't doing anything to maintain political relationships with anybody. She's just.
That's true. Although I imagine one of the reasons why it even is a conflict is that Team Rhaenyra has more dragons, and I feel like even if she loses a lot of her support, Team Rhaenyra is still gonna have more dragons.
Yeah, I mean, it depends when he unnames her. Like,
That's true.
does
That's true.
so? Yeah, I guess like if he unnames her when she has 5 kids, who are 4 of them are dragon riders. Like at that point, yeah, she has 4 dragon riding kids. But the question is, if she's unnamed, would Daemon still marry her? Would she have Daemon support, for example? Like that's a big factor because Rhaenyra herself, like at least in the books, she never goes to war. Like she doesn't.
It's
She
true. Yeah,
literally,
that's one of the things that
literally
annoyed me. She
lets
did
all the
nothing.
dragons. She
Yeah,
literally
that's
goes
one of the things
all the
that annoyed
dragons
me.
murder.
In Fire and Blood, I was like, you have an advantage of like 7 to 3 dragons, and yet all these damn dragon fights, you have 1 against 2. It's like Lanchester's Law or something. It's like, use your numerical superiority.
Yeah, dude, I want to see like I have a feeling that all the people she's burning now, we'll have scenes with them in later seasons where they'll just be like, "Fuck you." I I have a feeling that that will happen, like because they are setting her up for like she's burning a lot of people. Like Kristen is the obvious one. Obviously, he doesn't have so much political power, but Kristen is going to join Allison basically now, I guess. Um, like Kristen, like she doesn't even try to soften the landing at all. She's just like, "I'm too good for you. Go away." Like she doesn't say go away, but she's like, "I will not run away with you. Like my throne is more important than you, basically." Which yes, but also she's not trying to even be like nice to him. She just expects him to stay with her. So I don't know. I think I was thinking about it, like what Show Rhaenyra seems a bit socially inept to
Yeah, I
be
mean,
like
Book Rhaenyra isn't exactly great. It's just
that's
the Maester doesn't, the historian doesn't describe like, oh yeah, in her personal relationships, like she was kind of mean to Kristen. Like,
that's fair, Margaret. I get that. Um, yeah, but so I don't know. I like what they've done with Rhaenyra. Like if I don't know if you guys watched our stream about expectations and challenges before this show came out. I was saying that I'm worried they would whitewash the blacks. That they would want to position Rhaenyra as the protagonist, basically, which they did for 2 episodes, and then they were like, "Never mind."
yeah, they tricked people. Like I remember one of the first dumb reviews to episode 1 of House of the Dragon was just like, these people are just saying like, was complaining about how like the show was just saying how like they should just put Rhaenyra in charge of everything and how Rhaenyra would be the perfect ruler. And I'm just sitting back here like, yeah. This is also, there was another like review of House of the Dragon, and this is something that really tilts me. So you should be able to review House of the Dragon without having read Fire and Blood. But if your review is going to rely upon predictions of what the themes and where the themes and story is going to go, like you should probably check with the source material to make sure you're not just totally wrong. So there was one that like tilted me. That's just like, this is clearly going to be the point, and it was like, what?
Yeah.
No, if you're gonna say that, like, if you're gonna review it based on quality and be like, I don't think the characters are good, I'm gonna be like, okay. But yeah, you don't have to read Fire and Blood through that. But this is a thing that tilts me. Anyway, mini Jake rant aside.
That's true. But yeah, as I said, like I like that they didn't position Rhaenyra as like goody two shoes. Rhaenyra who's being like her throne is being stolen by Otto and the Greens. Like actually, Allison is way more sympathetic to me in the show so far. I think that's going to change in the next episode.
Yeah, like as a person, for sure.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
Which this has been my position like the entire time for like the Blacks vs Greens. Like, I don't like Rhaenyra. I think Rhaenyra is like one of the worst monarchs. I also think she did a terrible job like actually leading the rebellion, and generally not pro Rhaenyra. That being said, I still think she was the heir.
She was like, but we talked about this last week, right? Like,
yeah.
At the point where we were last week, I wouldn't blame Viserys for being like, I have to unmake you.
Yeah, because like, I mean, and the thing is, if Viserys unnames her, like the heir is whoever Viserys says is the heir.
Yeah,
like
that's my thing. Like, so you are a very different Team Black supporter than most people. You're like Rhaenyra is the heir because Viserys named her, but you're like, if Viserys names Aegon, like you switch sides basically.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
there are a lot of people.
basically the side I'm against is whichever side goes, hey, we should have a civil war.
Yes,
Like, so whichever
that's it.
side that isn't the officially named heir and goes like, hey, we do a little civil war, that's the side that I think is wrong. I'm on,
Mhm.
right? Like, and yeah,
That's
the
fair.
other side could then, obviously, the other side could then just be like, okay, fine, we'll just let them be the monarch. But they
Mhm.
don't have the expectation that they should do that.
Yes.
Like I think it would take like very strong moral character if Rhaenyra had got like kind of usurped and then just been like, okay, this is going to cause a lot of destruction. I'm just going to go chill. Especially now because she's also been given. This is unrelated, but she's now been given like the White Walker responsibility, like after Viserys has died. Which actually, like one of the things in the books, like when she didn't accept that deal, I was like, I mean, you don't have the expectations that set. Like they offered her basically like just let me be king deal, and we won't murder you. But now in her back of her head, she's going to be like, wait a second, it's my job to like, you know, make sure the White Walkers don't kill everyone. And she doesn't know that's in like 100 and something years. That could be in 20 for all she knows, right? Like,
see, I agree, but I'm not sure how they're going to use that because it doesn't feel to me that she's taking that thing seriously at all. Like
that was one. I think she is. That was one of the things where she was like, I have a duty that's like bigger than the throne. Like that
yeah,
was.
that's true.
I think she is. I think that's one of the things that like episode 4 did is when Viserys had like the dagger and was like, you know, you have like a bigger duty than the throne. I think she is taking that seriously. I think it's one of the only duties she's taking seriously.
Mm. So Chadi is saying that the camps are already farming. Lannisters, Hightowers, the Vale against Daemon and Rhaenyra. I agree, although I'm not sure. Is the Vale on the green side in the book? I thought that
The Vale is
doesn't.
probably on whatever side Daemon isn't on.
No, but like if I remember correctly, like Jacaerys goes to Jane Eyre to get support from the Whale, and I think they support the Blacks because Rhaenyra in her banner she actually has the Arryn flag as well. She has like Targaryen quartered like Targaryen, and then I think it's Balerion and Arryn because her mother is an Arryn. So I don't exactly remember, but I think Jacaerys goes to the Vale. Yeah, so Margaret is saying that Jane Eyre is on Black side, but I don't know if the Vale is split. It would be weird if the Royces are on Daemon's side.
Yeah, the Royces are definitely not going to be on Daemon's side because of the whole murder.
Yeah, so people agree. They're liking Alicent in the show, even though they hate her in the book.
And she was barely a character in the books, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, in the book, she's portrayed very much as a schemer. Like, obviously, we don't get the whole person. Like, that's one of the benefits the show has. They can actually flesh out the characters.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I was really excited for it, and why even when I read Fire and Blood, I was like, Dance with the Dragon's not my favorite section, but it should make a fire TV show.
Yes, exactly. So, and I think they've done it well across the board. They've like made these characters like not one-dimensional, which most of them are one-dimensional in the book.
Okay, before I forget, Fish. What was going on with that?
So, see, I shouldn't have just written Fish. But
I guess Margaret wasn't here. So when we were talking like about the conversation where it's like in the book, the dude was like, I don't like fish, but like I eat it when I'm served.
Yeah. So
Sheikh wrote down fish, which is supposed to remind him something for the spoilers chat, and he was like, I shouldn't write down just fish, but I think he's remembered it now. Maybe.
I was thinking. So basically, the fish thing is like about him being. Oh, yes. Okay, I remember. So you were saying that their agreement is we do our duty, and then we do whatever we want. You said there. So the way you interpreted it in the spoiler-free section is we'll have one kid, and then we'll do whatever we want.
Yeah.
But we know from the books that that's not what happens.
Yeah, that's what happens.
What happens is they get married, and it's like ignore the fact that they're married.
Yeah, well, I think that was the agreement, you know, before Kristen Cole, who Laenor thinks is the dude that Rhaenyra's been regularly banging and is the reason she's making this agreement, you know, killed Mr. Strong Guy. Yeah. So
I mean,
he's gonna go to plan. But their agreement seems to be like the plan was that they would just have like they'd have one kid, this is the heir, and then, you know, they'd go.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure if they were on the same page there. If they were just like, well, let's just get married and then just ignore each other. Like I was
That's
confused.
Obviously what happened. I don't think that was the plan though.
Because that would make more sense.
Rhaenyra did specifically say like, okay, yeah, you know, like they're gonna was like, okay, so once we're married, we'll do like our duty and then we'll dine as we please.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I wanted to say with the fish thing. I didn't want to mention the strongs yet. But I think we are getting close to your strongs thing. I'm sorry. Okay, Margaret also she loves Alicent, and George had clear preference for the blacks in his construction of the conflict, putting his beloved Blackwood's and starts on the black side. Come on, I agree with that. Um, I think it's very interesting the way the two different fan camps interpret Fire and Blood. There is one side that's like completely on the side of the Fire and Blood is biased for the Greens, and the other side is it's completely biased for the Blacks. Like, it's just funny. I think both sides would look horrible, so I'm in the middle. I don't think anybody looks good in that thing.
If I were to
Except
sum up
much.
the Dance of the Dragons in one sentence, it would be everyone is terrible.
Yes. So I think the show is taking a more balanced approach that will end up being more tragic than frustrating. That's yes, I think that's true. I do have some things that happen later on, namely the storming of the dragon pit, where I'm like, I don't think that would go over well on TV, especially since it's the last big thing that happens. Like just common folk killing 5 dragons. It might work, but it also might be a bit anticlimactic. Just
I
my
think it'll
feeling.
work. Montage with sad music in the background. You gotta trust.
Yeah, I mean the thing that I'm looking forward to is like Dreamfire, who's trying to escape through the dome and then just collapses, and then the whole thing falls in on itself, like how it's ruined. I think that will be amazing to see. But I feel like the way this ends, it is tragic, but it could also be like it could rub people the wrong way. Where it's like because literally everybody dies, other than Alicent, Corlys, and Aegon the Third, and I guess Viserys the Second. Like all the important characters die.
That's
So
true. Yeah, as I have said to people who hadn't read Fire and Blood, you thought George killed a lot of characters in fantasy epic writing mode. Wait until you meet history writing George. It's pretty brutal. I just want. I'm gonna feel sad for Aegon 3. I really like Aegon 3. I think he's. Yeah.
I also thought the same thing. I've been thinking that the start of the romance is like since episode 2, like sorry, episode 3. During the royal hunt, like I shared the image of Harwin with you, right? Where he's
Yes.
just looking at when Rhaenyra is walking back into camp. He's just looking at her in a really funny way.
Everyone else is like,
4,
"Oh, scandalous," and he's just like,
laughing. I like this. Then in episode 4, she runs into him in Flea Bottom. So I think they were like already setting small things up. In episode 5, they were actually dancing like before Damon comes in and starts talking with her. Harwin is dancing with Rhaenyra, and yes, he picks her up at the end. But what I found really funny is that he picks her up and he's like, "Put me down." My one-line summary for Fire and Blood is this. Yes, this is the Maester conspiracy. This is my next one. Maester conspiracy. The symbol is so okay. Last week we talked about the rats. The rats were in the dragon skull, so you could interpret it as like, okay, the rats, like rats being the Maesters, basically eating the dragon or whatever, or feasting on the dragon's carcass, however you might. Literally, the last shot of this episode is a rat drinking the blood that's on the floor.
yes.
I was like, last week we were like, maybe this is being subtle, and this week I'm like, okay, no, they're like, literally, Melis is like, no, let's not try to heal him with the more effective way. Let's do the thing that we've been doing.
That's working. It's always worked. That's why he's dying.
It's like what? And also like, Lionel Strong is there, and the says, why do they not say, do it? What? Why not? Let's try this thing. Why are you saying no? It's obviously not working.
He's the Grand Maester. You can trust the Grand Maester with your medicine, obviously.
That's the conspiracy. That's how you make a conspiracy, Jake.
Yes,
everybody trusts the Maester.
Okay, to be clear, my position for the Maester conspiracy is not that the Maesters are not suspicious. It's that I don't buy that there's one. I think the Maesters are just like everyone else, constantly in conflict with each other. And he's trying to do their own good. Like, I don't buy, like, people seem to think like there's one Maester conspiracy. And I'm just like, I mean, they're people. There's going to be people doing suspicious things. I just don't buy that they're all like working towards the same thing. Okay.
I mean, yeah, it's fair. Like, I think, again, it might be some, what my read on it is. I think the conclave is for sure scheming. Like all the archmaesters and the grandmaster,
Everyone
I
is
think
scheming. If they're
no,
a thing
but
in Ice and Fire, there's
that's no, but I mean like this whole. Do we want to go down this rabbit hole? So the grandmaster conspiracy, I think it makes sense because one, it's literally like it's not canon, but it's very heavily hinted at in the main books. Like George has
also,
mentioned it twice.
I don't know if you remember this, but in episode 2, the Grand Maester listened to the younger Maester. Like they were doing something, and the
Yes,
younger Maester then recommended something. And it's interesting that it goes the opposite way this time.
yeah, that's
Um,
true. I think it was in episode was it
what
one
do
or two
I think it was 2
when
because it
they.
was for the finger, which was episode 2. No, it was the
Okay, I
first
thought
cut.
it.
It was 1. It was 1. You're right.
Yeah, when they were
Um,
like, we should do cauterization. Like,
yeah, I forget what the advice was, but it was once again the
I
same
think
like
it's
younger Maester being like this should do that. Except that time the Grand Maester like changed his answer. He was like, "We should be doing this," and then the young Maester was like,
mm,
"Oh, we could do that," and then the Grand Maester was like, "We will do that." And this time it's
yeah,
interesting because this time it was the opposite. This time he didn't listen to him. This time he dismissed it.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
See, if the Ryan Connell knows what's up. He's like, of course there's a Maester conspiracy. There's like 7. They're all fighting each other. They're all scheming
Yeah,
against you.
I mean that's true, but also I'm also the thing. I do believe in a Grand Maester conspiracy. I'm more of a believer than you are. I don't know if I believe that they're killing Viserys at this point. I think they're not doing their best job at healing him, but also I don't understand why would they kill Viserys over 30 years. Like, what's their gain here? Like, let's make sure this king dies in 30 years.
Yeah,
So,
I don't. Yeah, exactly. Like
like,
that. The thing is, this is why I don't buy what people's version of the Maester conspiracy. Because what's the conspiracy? And no answer I've gotten makes sense. Like, oh, they all hate dragons. Then why do they dislike Aegon 3? Like,
so I get your Aegon 3 point, but I think Aegon 3 there he's basically cover up, right? Like, you don't outright say and like the guy who killed the dragons is great. We love him. He's the best king ever. At
no,
that point,
but so
it's
you're like,
obvious.
that's what they'd respond. But this isn't they're saying they're great, but like they're clearly like he's the king. They seem to be the most biased against. I have no idea what that means. Sorry. Like Aegon 3 seems to be like of all like the World of Ice and Fire and Fire in the Blood, he's like the king who seems to get the least fair treatment. Which you'd think like to avoid suspicion they would just do normally and just be like, yeah, he wasn't a very active king, but he didn't start any wars and he ruled pretty reasonably. But he just didn't get along with that many people and maybe wasn't the most diligent at building personal relationships. Yeah, CJ, it wasn't Viserys' fault. It's because he was dulled by the medicine.
See, now he buys into the
yes,
conspiracy.
now I buy into it because I'm sick of Viserys slander, which I had him like middle of the pack, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, Maester conspiracy. It's my main thing is the fact that Archmaester Marvin mentions it in the Feast for Crows. He literally says, "Who do you think killed the dragons the last time?"
Okay,
Like,
that's
so that's the main reason, and then there are a lot of suspicious deaths. So basically,
okay.
what I
Again,
think,
to be clear, I will grant that there are some maesters trying to bring down the dragons. I just don't buy that. Like, there are also some maesters who aren't like against that because I think it would be ridiculous for all the maesters to like have the same general goal or even like a vast majority.
yeah, I mean, I think the logic, like, I don't know where I stand on that. Like, I think both sides make sense because your side is like, yes, they're not a hive mind. Like, there are like thousands of maesters probably in the Citadel.
Yeah.
Like, they're not all going to have the same thing. But also, and we have Marvin who is actually pro magic, so we know that that's not the case. Like, Marvin telling Sam in itself shows that they're not a hive mind, at least at the point.
Also, they come from everywhere, right? Like there are maesters from all over the place. Like they're going to have wildly different values.
That is correct. But the main thing is that basically how a lot of people interpret is that they're kind of trying to kill all the magic, basically build up the science, kill the magic, which is why they don't want like volatile blood magic, dragon riding people in power. So basically, the whole Maester conspiracy thing, there are two separate theories. There's a Dance of the Dragons Maester conspiracy that the Maesters basically made sure that there were two strong sides that could lead to a civil war. Like, it's not literally them killing the dragons. It's them scheming with the High Towers to put the High Towers in a position to have a second, dragon riding family, basically, that they could pitch against each other. Like, it's basically them scheming to get to a point where this civil war would break out.
Yeah, and see, I'm okay with that because that wouldn't require a lot of maesters, right? Like the Grand Maesters and a few other could do that. And it could be like the Grand Maester and the younger one like are both kind of on the same page, but like are arguing about like how to go about it. So I think Ryan Condal's kind of like in a mix between our camps because Ryan Condal's showing Maesters disagreeing. Like he's showing like that even if they might have similar like ish goals, like they aren't all on the same page, which
that's fair. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. But yeah, for me, the main things in Fire and Blood that stand out. Jaehaerys has 13 kids. It's very specifically said he has basically the best case scenario. He has 2 sons who can inherit. He has Aemon. Aemon's death is super suspicious because
the Jaehaerys kids' deaths. A lot of them are sus. A lot of them, I think.
Like the way Aemon's death is told in the book is also suspicious because what they say is like he was killed by a crossbow bolt that was supposed to hit the person next to him. How do the Maesters know that? How do they know what the person from Myr, who has nothing to do with Westeros, what his plan was? First thing. Second thing, how did a random person from Myr find the 2 main people in that war in their camp with nobody else there?
Oh yeah, that is incredibly suspicious. Yeah.
How do the Maesters know he found them? How do the Maesters find some guy from Myr, and how do they know that he meant to hit the other guy? Like that's the main suspicious thing.
That death was absolutely suspicious. So, I also think like this is my stance, and it has been for Jaehaerys' death. I think probably like a lot of them died because it's the Middle Ages, and the Maesters were just like, oh shit, like we can work with this, or other people as well. And then like some of the deaths were incredibly suspicious. That's the most suspicious death.
I think so. Quickly, Jay. I think that's actually. I'm not sure if the Maester started that. I think it's Jaehaerys II who actually said that. I might be wrong, but I think it's a Targaryen king who said that quote. But I'd have to check. I don't think
also like. Thing. So, for example, I don't find someone having their appendix burst and dying in the Middle Ages like suspicious. Like it could have been poison, but also like it could have been that it's the Middle Ages and someone's appendix burst. Like,
I agree. That's not Balon's death in itself is not suspicious.
Yeah, it's suspicious that they all died, right? Like, or all the ones that weren't a Maester.
Exactly. And then also the way the Great Council goes is super suspicious. The Count is never revealed. It happens to be the fact that the guy who doesn't have a dragon comes into power, not the woman that has a dragon. Like, there are certain things, obviously it's all... Basically, we think the Maester conspiracy is a thing, and then we put the Maester conspiracy into every single thing.
Yeah, I'm not against there being a Maester conspiracy. Yeah. What me going like, is this the Maester conspiracy? Is just like, not everything is the Maester conspiracy.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think all of the things are true, but I do think a significant amount of the things can be true. That's basically
because guess what? Like, things would go wrong for the Maesters as well. Like they don't have that much control. Sure. Like they have a lot of control. Like anyways.
Yeah, I mean they have also a lot of control about like. Whenever there's a pregnancy and they maybe don't want a baby to happen, they can just do something to not. Yeah, Emma's kids dying, all of them. Her never having a son is a bit. I mean, again, that
also like they're inbreeding.
They're inbreeding, and like Emma's mother died in childbirth. Yeah. Like there is a family history there, but then again, Emma. The thing is, Emma's mother died in childbirth. Emma died in childbirth. Rhaenyra has like 5 back-to-back pregnancies that are perfect. Like nothing happens, and we get 4 dragon riders out of those. At the time when there's a civil war happening, where we want dragon versus dragon. So
to be fair, a lot of those aren't inbreeding.
That's correct. That's fair.
Most of them aren't. To the chagrin of others.
Yeah. I guess only.
That's why her children are so strong, because there's no inbreeding. Yeah, see, that's why they were all born healthily, because they're very strong. I think it's gonna be next episode. I'm so excited.
I was, yeah, that was going to be my. I'm going to do it at the end. Okay, so this is just a Dance of the Dragons Maester conspiracy. There's another Maester conspiracy for during the Mad King's time.
I agree with Margaret, by the way. Margaret and me are on the same page, I feel like.
I agree with that particular thing. I was just making a point of like, let's take out Emma. Let's put Lena there. Lena dies in childbirth or whatever. Like it's just a thing that the Maesters, like, I agree. Like I don't think literally everything. Like some of the stuff has to be natural. Like otherwise, you take away all the stakes in the story. Like if the Maesters are doing literally everything, then the whole story doesn't matter basically because all the characters don't have agency.
People are like, people think like Fire and Blood, like there are legitimately people in the comments who are trying to be like, Fire and Blood is so reliable that like, and this things are so reliable that Aegon IV was actually like a pretty good king and Jaehaerys was terrible. And I'm like, what's the point of the book then? Like,
yeah, exactly. Like I don't actually think like that all of it is true. I'm just saying that the Maesters are inherently suspicious because they're everywhere. Like you can literally, if you want to see a Maester conspiracy, you can put it in anything and you can make a plausible case for there being a Maester conspiracy.
Yeah, and I think some of those are right, and some of those are, once people have decided the Maester conspiracy is probably a thing, just being like, okay, and then taking it being like, all right, what's everything that could plausibly be the Maester conspiracy? And it's like, okay, some of it is probably right, but I think most of it is people have just like have started looking for Maester conspiracy everywhere. And also, yeah, they control the Night King, which is Viserys, which is what all the like medical stuff is for, because Viserys is the Night King.
I know you're joking. I'm pretty sure if you search that, there are going to be theories about it.
There's a theory for everything.
Also, but the Night King doesn't exist in the book, so maybe there's not actually a theory about that. Anyway,
Viserys is a White Walker, whatever.
So I think we covered
all the White Walkers are inbred, right? Like a bunch of the White Walkers are inbred because there's Craster's kids. Targaryens also inbred. They're all Targaryens as well. A bunch of Targaryens become White Walkers.
See, we have the ice people and we have the fire people. So.
Yeah,
that's the story.
Anyway,
okay. I think that's enough for. Yeah,
I think that's a good place to wrap things up. That was very chaotic.
I just that it was. So unless somebody has in the comments something else to talk about, like I think we could talk. I could talk for 2 more hours about this thing, but I don't think we should.
And I think, I don't have that much.
No, the funny thing is, like, I've been getting messages from my mother. She's like, "You've been talking for so long," and she said that like 40 minutes ago.
Anyway, and next week's gonna be on my channel. I enjoyed having chat here. We only had like 3 people, but I think all 3 of them added to this.
Yes, it's very fun.
Chat makes the time go faster. I've experienced this.
That's true.
I've experienced this before. So next week is going to be on my channel, I think, probably.
Yes.
Alternate or something.
And the preview for next week looks very, very interesting.
Oh yes,
I think we're getting where we want to be. Like the time skip will be interesting, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm still worried about how they handle it. Like I think they chose a very weird time to do it. Like it's a bit risky to do the time jump at this point because we'll miss a lot of fallout out of all the chaos.
I have faith in them now.
But the way that preview looks, and the next episode is called "The Princess and the Queen," which just that title.
What's your title for this episode? You keep giving episodes titles that you think it should be.
Yeah, I was thinking about like something. I actually had one. I just remembered. So, a bushel of oranges.
Bushel of oranges. How about duck and goose?
That also works. That also works. I wanted to go with something that's Kristen specific, but we don't really know a lot about like Kristen, so
okay.
That's why I went with the orange.
Strong. There we go. Good stuff, Jay.
Yes.
This show. I would like this show to be renamed the House of Strong. The Strong House.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, guys, it was fun. So thank you for everyone who joined us, and for anybody who's watching on the replay. Let us know how you felt about this episode in the comments.
Very excited for the strong children next episode.
I am as well. So, any last comment?
Nope, that's all I got. That was my last comment.
Okay, same. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you next week on Jake's channel, and the next episode looks like it's going to be very, very
which we've said about all of them, but they've all been true. So that's been true every time. So whatever.
The next episode will be very strong.
Yes, it will.